No, the Detroit Lions are not trading Jameson Williams. Come on.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, here we go, everybody. A new week of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On a Monday, March the 4th, and a Tuesday, March the 5th. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Thanks to our everydayers. A shout out to you. And thanks to all of you that follow us on Twitter at Dery Speaks and at Locked On Lions on our Matt Dery Facebook fan page. And of course, thank you for subscribing and watching for free on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. The program today is brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Coming up on the show today. Yep, silly season is officially here. I get text messages. I'm getting tweets. Oh, yeah, I heard the Lions are trading Jameson Williams for L'Jarius Sneed. It's not happening. This isn't fantasy football. But I will address the rumor coming up momentarily here on Locked On Lions. It is Mock Draft Monday. We always love that. Got a new mock draft for you. Will the Lions go corner? Will the Lions go D-line? O-line? We will tell you in this latest mock draft coming up momentarily on the show. Some defensive tackle possibilities that I want to get to in the program or on the program as well. Also, I got to look at my rundown and double check and make sure I'm reading. Oh, meetings at the Combine. Yes. The Lions met with two guys that I think were significant over the weekend. And I want to get into that coming up momentarily right here on Locked On Lions. How's everybody doing? Tomorrow, for all you everydayers out there, tomorrow on the show, the legendary Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus, who spent every minute of every day, the last 5 days, in the Circle City of Indianapolis. All right. I'm sure he went to and got the overrated shrimp cocktail, downtown. I'm sure he went to, other spots there in Indianapolis. But no, he was living it up at Lucas Oil Stadium. There's nobody better when it comes to the draft, in my opinion, than Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus. We will talk to him tomorrow on this very program. So we will do that tomorrow right here on Locked On Lions, find out what he thought of the quarterbacks, the corners, linemen, everything else. All right. You know what's funny, too? I was looking on the Twitter machine today, and the anti-JJ McCarthy crowd posts the videos of him missing on the out patterns. All right. And they were bad throws. Then the pro JJ crowd and all the Michigan slaps post the one video of him throwing the ball 60 yards. Really nice throw. It's just funny how, people either love Michigan and it's like, oh my God, JJ's just the greatest thing ever. And look, the guy was a national championship winner at quarterback. It's good player. And then the anti-Michigan fans are like, he's garbage. They shouldn't even be in the first round. It's like, yeah, he struggled without patterns at the combine, but you have to also show the good throws that he made too. And he's a heck of an interview as well. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, today, text messages start rolling in, including from my very good friend and everydayer, Mike Vanderpool, Heart of a Lions fan. Check out the Lions movie that Mike put together many years ago. It's everywhere on the internet. And he sends me this text today. Text message at 11:45 in the morning. You see the rumor, Sneed for Jamo? Saw it from a very untrustworthy KC fan. So I'm like, okay, time to hop on the old social media and check it out. And I start seeing these rumors about, well, L'Jarius Sneed was franchise tagged today by the Kansas City Chiefs. But that still doesn't mean that he can't be traded at some point. Then I see, well, the Chiefs need a wide receiver. Here's a trade for you. L'Jarius Sneed to the Lions for Jameson Williams, and the Chiefs will also throw in a draft pick. Why on earth Would the Detroit Lions take a 22-year-old receiver that they have been ultra and uber patient with for 2 years, first round pick, who's making no money, rookie money, and trade him for a 27-year-old corner? And don't get me wrong, L'Jarius Sneed is a beast. He's awesome. But he's being franchise tagged, which means that at the minimum, you're going to have to pay him $19.6 million this year. And then you got to sign him to a multi-year deal, in the coming seasons and spend at least $64 to $70 million. All right. Nick Baumgartner pointed out the other day, Detroit believes Jameson Williams is going to be a dude this year. Nick was at the combine. All right. The Lions love Jamo. The Lions also, outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, at least right now, don't really have a lot of wide receiver options on this football team. Jameson Williams is going to play a bigger role for this team. All right. The Lions, there are a lot, I should say, of veteran cornerbacks available. Dante Jackson is going to be let go by Carolina in the next couple days. All right. The Lions do and should have interest in L'Jarius Sneed. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said, watch Detroit. They could be in on Sneed, but they're not trading Jameson Williams for him. I just don't see it. They love what Jamo brings to the table. I'm not 100% sold on Jamo yet. I think he still is poor in finding the football in the air, but that dude's explosive. The reverse in the NFC Championship game, my God, turned on the speed, nobody touched him. Also a very good downfield blocker. He's gotten better. Why would the Lions stunt their growth offensively and make that kind of trade? If there's going to be a trade for L'Jarius Sneed, I would believe it would involve draft picks, but you're not giving up core players. You're also not going to, like I said, lessen your wide receiver room, where you've got Amon-Ra coming up after this year in order to get this football player. You want to talk about a L'Jarius Sneed trade? You want to say the Lions should be in on him? Lions have cap room to get him, yes, but you're not trading Jameson Williams for him. I do not see that. That's not something that I believe is going to be in the cards. Too young, too explosive, too cheap on a rookie deal to give up on him for Sneed. So whatever you're seeing on the internet, I'm not buying it. All right. Jameson Williams has not lived up to the hype, but he's making improvements. He's getting better. I see a player on the rise. I see a player that Jared and this offense are going to need to stretch the field. You get rid of Jameson Williams, who are they throwing to deep down the field? All right. Nobody. At least not right now. At least not yet. Occasionally, Khalif Raymond. Occasionally, Amon-Ra once in a while, but Amon-Ra's more slithery on the interior. He's not your outside threat. So I'm all for making a trade for Sneed, but I highly doubt the Lions are going to give up on Jameson Williams to get him. So whatever you're reading on the internet, don't believe it. I do not see that happening. All right, coming up next, Mock Draft Monday. Let's have some fun with that. Also, a couple of names that the Lions met with at the Combine. There's some defensive tackle possibilities I want to get into as well. All of that coming up next, right here on a Monday, Locked on Lions.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now you can go and shoot your shot with Locked On's official sports betting partners over at FanDuel with the NBA season underway. Right now, new customers will get $150 in bonus bets by simply winning any $5 bet. Doesn't matter if the odds are overwhelmingly in your favor. If with your first bet you put $5 down and win, that's $150 your way just for winning that $5 bet. Yeah, it's like 30-1 odds. It's awesome. So you can put that in on a bunch of stuff with the NBA. You also check out NFL draft odds as well. Who's going to be the #1 overall pick, the #2 overall selection, all of that. You can check all that out. Plus quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and much more. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
We're back on Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, a Monday edition. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, making us your first listen. Do you realize that a week from today, we're going to have NFL free agency? Week from today, folks, all the reports are going to come out. This player signing here. This player has agreed to terms here. The official signing period doesn't begin a week from Wednesday, but the negotiation period starts, and that's where all the rumors start and the reports start. So we'll see the Lions go first and foremost. All right, post-combine, as the combine now is done, mock draft. It is mock draft Monday. Usually we go to the Draft Network and do our business there, but today I've decided for the mock draft Monday, we're going to with our friends at Pro Football Focus, PFF.com, and Gordon McGinnis, who wrote the piece today. Not a surprise. At the top, Caleb Williams, number 1 of the Bears. Drake May, quarterback number 2 to the Commanders. Jaden Daniels, number 3 to the Patriots. Marvin Harrison, 4th to Arizona. And Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver, number 5 to the Chargers. All right. Roma Dunze, who, by the way, what an awesome story that he was working on that cone drill until he got it, the number that he wanted. It was like 11 o'clock at night the other night. The wide receiver going number 6 to the Giants. As I look down the list, and we always do this, right? We're looking for cornerbacks. What's the story with corners? How many corners are going to go for the Lions go at number 29? Well, Terrion Arnold, the cornerback from Alabama that many feel is the best corner in this draft, would go in this mock draft number 11 to the Vikings. Cooper DeJean, who I want, off the board on this mock draft. The cornerback from Iowa going 13 to the Raiders. Nate Wiggins, who ran an incredible 4.29 40 the other day, 15 to the Colts. Another corner that would be off the board. Quinyon Mitchell at 20 to the Steelers. That would be the 4th cornerback off the board. 5th corner off the board. Kool-Aid McKinstry, number 22 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, did you see Jason Kelsey's retirement presser today? Man, is that guy awesome. He cried through the whole thing. He loves football, and we love Kelsey. He's awesome. All right, so then that's 5 corners taken before the Lions at number 29 in the PFF latest mock draft on this mock draft Monday. Select Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the cornerback from Missouri, whom we have seen plenty of times mocked to the Honolulu Blue and Silver. Quote, with Ben Johnson returning as offensive coordinator in 2024, it's clear that the Lions need to focus on the defensive side of the ball this offseason. Rakestraw is coming off a season where he allowed just 18 receptions from 277 snaps in coverage and has earned a PFF coverage grade of 78.0 or better in each of the past 2 seasons. By the way, in this mock draft, Atlanta at number 30, in a trade with the Ravens, would take J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if J.J. McCarthy is going to fall all the way to number 30, but there's your... Oh, and Mike Sanderstill, 43 to the Ravens. That is your mock draft Monday. Ennis Rakestraw, cornerback from Missouri. And again, this is another player that has been mocked to the Lions a lot that just fits the bill of what the Lions like to do defensively, right? With what Aaron Glenn likes to do in terms of physicality from his cornerbacks, in terms of how the coverages are set up. You know, it's a nice mix of man and zone, and Rakestraw just has really good ball skills, and everybody raves about him. Now, we have seen his teammate from Missouri, Darius Robinson, the pride of Canton, Michigan, also mocked to the Lions before. And that would be a sweet 1-2 punch if they could somehow get Robinson in the second round and Rakestraw in the first. But I would take Rakestraw probably over Kool-Aid if I'm picking. But in this mock draft, obviously, Mr. McGinnis here, the author, took Kool-Aid ahead of Rakestraw. But another mock draft that has the Lions taking a corner at 29. And again, a lot of this will change next week at this time. If the Lions go out and sign a couple of cornerbacks, if the Lions go out and trade for a Sneed, or they sign a corner, or whether it's, you know, I mentioned before a guy like Dante Jackson, or you know, any of these other free agent corners that are available, and there's a lot of them out there on the market right now, then maybe that would, if the Lions signed 2 corners in free agency for decent money and it wasn't breaking the bank, would they necessarily take a corner at 29? It's not in the realm of possibility. Brad Holmes said the other day at the combine, you could never have enough corners. All right. And there's some good ones out there. There's guys that have been released. There's guys that will be released. Jalen Ramsey's going to be out there. Xavier Howard's out there. I mentioned Jackson and others. So it could change. And again, what if Graham Glasgow and Jonah Jackson go elsewhere? Then all of a sudden, you're going to see a lot of mock drafts moving offensive linemen up to 29 for Detroit. I mean, if Jackson or Glasgow go, there's no depth on the interior for the Lions right now. I mean, Owashika was fine. Colby Sorsdahl was okay. But are you ready to put Colby Sorsdahl as a starter on a team that is shooting for the Super Bowl? I'm not so sure. In fact, I am sure. The answer is no. All right. So keep that in mind as we're looking at all this mock draft stuff. By the way, Russell Wilson released today by the Broncos, and they have an $85 million cap hit they're dealing with. Oh my God. Who thought it was a good idea to send 2 number 1 picks and a bunch of other picks to Seattle for Russell Wilson, who's been busted and broken for years? And now I see Pittsburgh might be interested. Why? You drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round. Play him. Give him a chance over some busted old Russell Wilson. We saw Russell Wilson at Ford Field this past year. He's terrible. No, he was really good with the Seahawks 7 years ago. But I know the Broncos are eating a lot of money and it was a terrible trade, but Sean Payton and George Payton, the GM, they're doing the right thing. He stinks. Go get somebody else. That's exactly what Denver's going to do. I can see J.J. McCarthy playing for the Broncos. I could see that easily. All right, very quickly on visits. There were 2 visits that intrigued me very much over the weekend when the offensive linemen and defensive linemen were working out, interviewed, everything else at the combine. The first one is Johnny Newton, Johnny Newton, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and interior defensive lineman from Illinois, had a visit and talked with the Lions. Look, if Johnny Newton, and look, Brett Whitefield from Fantasy Point said this to us last week. If Johnny Newton is somehow slides to 29, you can throw everything out the window and go get him and put him next to Aleem McNeil. He's a monster. All right. Johnny Newton is really, really good. We talked about Darius Robinson, willing to play anywhere along the defensive line. And there's a lot of good defensive linemen that are hybrid guys, outside edges, interior guys. Johnny Newton is amazing. Very, very good. And he's mocked at 20 to 23 in the Houston Texans in this PFF mock draft. But this is an elite football player. 84.0 PFF pass rushing grade this past year. 43 total pressures, a combined 15 sacks and hits, all while playing through injury all season long. Johnny Newton would be a home run at 29. And I love that the Lions talked to him at the combine. Got to. The other one, which is very, very intriguing, that the Lions had a conversation with this weekend, is BYU offensive tackle Kingsley Suamataia, who is cousins with Penei Sewell. Quote, "We go way back. Penei's been training me since I was young." End quote. Suamataia is likely a day 2 pick, but he's huge. It's interesting. Could they move him to guard? Could you put Kingsley Suamataia at guard and play him on the interior as well? That is a good question. One that I'm not sure. I'm not sure he can. I mean, not every tackle can just slide inside and play guard. Not every guard is big enough, whether they have long enough arms or not, to play tackle. I mean, Frank Ragnow played center and guard. If you put Frank Ragnow out on the perimeter at tackle, I don't know if that would happen. But the Lions did have a meeting with Kingsley Suamataia from BYU. Big tackle, good player. Many feel will be a second-round pick, maybe a little bit later, and would add some nice depth to the Lions' offensive line. And oh, by the way, like I said, trained by and his cousins with Penei Sewell. That Sewell family, man. Oh my gosh, they got some football players, huh? Brother Noah and others, cousins. It's pretty cool. So keep an eye on that. It's a good football player and a guy that can play left tackle or right tackle. And what if the Lions can't come to an agreement with Taylor Decker on an extension? Who's up after this year? I think they will, but you just never know. You always want to plan for stuff like that. So we'll have to wait and see. By the way, the Lions today also bringing back one of the Flying Zylstra brothers. That's right, tight end Shane Zylstra, who injured his knee before training camp last year, was re-signed today by the Lions just for some depth. So no surprise there. All right, coming up next, I mentioned Johnny Howard, the D tackle. What about a guy that the Dolphins might be letting walk? We will explain next here on Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today is brought to you by, and we love these people. It's sponsored by BetterHelp. And here's the thing with therapy. You want to talk to somebody. You're thinking about therapy. You're not so sure if this is something for you or not, or maybe you're a little bit hesitant. But the thing about BetterHelp that is awesome is it's entirely online, and you can pick your therapist. If you don't like the person, you can select somebody else for no additional charge. A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? Best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and you make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. All right. If you've been a part of therapy personally, you've liked it before, maybe you've given it up for a little bit, or maybe your therapist wasn't the right call for you at that time. Hey, give BetterHelp a try. All right. It's entirely online, like I said, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And like I said before, switch for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, back on the program here on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Miami Dolphins have themselves a stud defensive tackle. I've always been a monster and a big Christian Wilkins fan, and why not? This is a guy that can really, really play, can really, really move on the interior. One of 6 defensive tackles this season to register 9 or more sacks this year. Justin Matabike, Seiler, Ed Oliver, Kobe Turner, Chris Jones. Christian Wilkins is 28. Should be, in my opinion, franchise tag because I think he's that good and you win up front. The Dolphins say they're not going to franchise tag him. So the former Pro Bowler is hitting free agency at age 28. Now, I was looking up a bunch of possible destinations for Christian Wilkins. 9 sacks, 23 quarterback hits, 58 quarterback pressures this year, and quarterback pressure percentage of 11%. But Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, Armstead, Ramsey, all of these guys, Tua entering 2024 in the final year of his rookie deal. Dolphins have some money they've got to get rid of. I mentioned before Xavier Howard they've gotten rid of. So Christian Wilkins, it appears, is going to hit the open market. Let me be the first to tell you that I think Christian Wilkins is a stud. He's going to command close to $20 million, maybe even more, all right, in the open market. But again, another guy at 28 in the prime of his career that if you put next to Aleem McNeil, that would just be absolutely fantastic. All right. You would have no argument from me about the pickup of Christian Wilkins and how good he could be for this franchise. So there are a lot of good football players, hitting free agency here. We mentioned before about Chris Jones and Matabike and Wilkins is I think he's a top 7 free agent. The Dolphins have an opportunity here to keep him. Sounds like he's going to be too rich for them. He's going to cost over $20 million a year. Right? Brian Burns, same thing. All of these guys are going to be very, very expensive. And now, with the salary cap going up, is Brian Burns a $25 million a year player? Same with Christian Wilkins? Maybe. But man, the Lions on the interior of their defensive line, outside of Aleem McNeil, it's slim pickings. It's not, Josh Pascal's gotten better. He's okay. What's the future of Onwuzurike, Broderick Martin, John Kaminsky, players like that? I'd love to see on day one the Lions go after a guy like Christian Wilkins, because that's where you win, is right there at the point of attack. He's a really good football player. I'm a little bit surprised the Dolphins are not going to tag him and see if they can get him a long-term deal. Look, they may end up re-signing him anyway, but boy, he's just disruptive, and he's not just a sack guy. He can play the run. He's one of the better D tackles in the league. So keep an eye on that if Brad Holmes decides to go that route. All right, Trevor Sikkema tomorrow, right here on the program, right here on Locked On Lions. Excited to have him on to recap the combine. Who did he like? Who didn't he like? We'll get all of his thoughts tomorrow, right here on Locked On Lions.